Thank you, VC. Did you see that small screen she was speaking from? Like tiny, like really showing up my age, right? She did that with no spectacles. I've got spectacles and I have a big screen, so. But thank you very much, VC. It is indeed an honor. Thank you for inviting me. It's indeed an honor to be part of this celebration of excellence today. So as the VC mentioned, I'm a design thinker. And the first thing you do as a design thinker when you get a task is you speak to the end user. And so I spoke to a few graduates, VC, and I asked them what would they like to hear today. And the message I got very clearly from them was, we're here to collect a piece of paper. Is that correct? Right. So I'm standing right now in the way of them and the piece of paper, so I'm going to be brief as possible. The title of my talk is Building Wakanda. Wakanda, the African city, home to Black Panther. We all saw the Marvel version of Wakanda. But what does the real Wakanda look like? Where will it be built? How will it be built? I don't know the answers to these questions, but what I do know is that the real Wakanda will be built by the youth sitting in this hall. The youth sitting in this hall will be the future shapers of our African cities. Moving into the future, Africa's youth is its biggest asset. I travel across the continent and engage with youth who are agile, ambitious, and they have an innovative spirit. This innovative spirit becomes crucial if you are going to navigate the massive disruption that is approaching us. So what I want to do in a few minutes is share some of my thoughts on 4 things that I believe will help you become better innovators, that will allow you to become disruptors instead of being disrupted. Firstly, you need to be deeply human-centric. We see big businesses that are global disruptors like Apple, Uber, Airbnb. They have built their business around having a deep understanding of their end users. The question is, how is human centricity in Africa different to human centricity in the rest of the world? Is it different? We see it's fundamentally different, not only from a geography perspective, culture, religion, language. So your job as people who will be building Africa's future cities is to ensure that we do not cut and paste from the West. When we bring solutions into Africa, when we bring systems into Africa, make sure it's through the lenses of Africa and appropriate for Africa. We have many examples of technology that has been brought into our continent that has failed. Not because it's bad technology. It's just that it was conceptualized in a very different world. So before you do anything, put yourself in the shoes of the end user. Before you draw that first line on the page, before you put that first number into the algorithm, put yourself in the shoes of the end user. When you have deep empathy for the people you serve, you will be less likely to implement inappropriate solutions. Now, this sounds quite obvious, but I can tell you as an engineer who's been in the industry for many years that as technical people, we end up designing according to codes and regulations, and so, sometimes with very little empathy for the end user. Secondly, if you want to be truly innovative, you need to embrace creativity. In order to be creative, you need to unlock that 4-year-old in you. That 4-year-old that was a fantastic artist, that 4-year-old that went to infinity and beyond. That 4-year-old that was always inquisitive, that was always asking why. Everyone in this room was at that point sometime in their lives when they were 4 years old. But then a strange thing happens. This inquisitiveness gets beaten out of you. And as we go through the education system, you become less and less inquisitive. And by the time you get to work, you don't ask why. So we live in this very technical world, the STEM world, science, technology, engineering, and maths. And then there's a whole different world of creative people out there, the musicians, the artists, the dancers. And these are very inquisitive people. And so what I'm saying is that if you can blend this technical world with this creative world, you will find a sweet spot where innovation can really flourish. So bring creativity into your hardcore technical projects. Bring creativity into your boardrooms. Bring creativity into your universities. Make creativity an important part of your ongoing learning, and you will become a disruptor. Thirdly, understand that the world is a complex space. Some of our country's biggest problems, like poverty, inequality, transformation, are complex, wicked problems. If we as technical and scientific people are going to make a meaningful contribution to these problems, we need to think beyond the codes and the regulations, beyond the size of the pipe, beyond the thickness of the slabs. We need to understand social complexity. We need to understand the role that politics plays in infrastructure development. We need to understand where the research money is coming from. We must not forget that the fantastic infrastructure that we have in South Africa that is world-class was used to divide our communities, and we still live with that legacy. Your role in the future South Africa will be to see how you can use infrastructure to bring our communities together. Social cohesion is a critical element of a successful and prosperous continent, and infrastructure and science will play a significant part in shaping this new world. And then finally, you need to spend time in the future. In future studies, we use the plural futures with the S because there's always more than one future. You cannot predict the future, but you can be part of creating a desirable future. In order for you to do that, you are going to have to lift your head up from the codes and regulations, from the deadlines. You are going to have to look into the future. You have got to spend some time looking forward and dreaming. What does Wakanda look like? Because make no mistake, if you cannot visualize it, someone else will visualize it for you. And that's when you get disrupted. In Marvel's Black Panther, the power of Wakanda comes from vibranium, an alien material that they keep secret from the rest of the world. In my future vision of Africa, the real vibranium of this continent is sitting in this hall. The youth of Africa is the real vibranium of our continent. And in my future vision, we do not keep our vibranium secret. We unleash it onto the rest of the world. So to successfully innovate for a better society, you need to bring these four elements together. It starts with a deep understanding of your end user or the citizens of our country, followed by thinking systemically about their problems. Then using creativity to come up with some crazy ideas. And finally, coming up with a solution that contributes to a desirable future. We're talking about new knowledge that you co-created with your end users. So in closing, to quote another Marvel superhero, with great power comes great responsibility. Understand that in the next few years, you will be sitting in a position where people will be looking to you for the solution. People are going to be looking at you to come up with a plan for how we are going to build Wakanda. This is a position of extreme power. You will have the power to influence what our future cities look like. Understand you are extremely privileged to be sitting here today. Now, I know for some of you, the journey getting here was more difficult than for others. But everyone sitting here had their own journey, their own story, their own hardship. Whether that was financial hardship, family issues, personal issues, you all traveled a different road, and it was not an easy journey. But you persevered, and you made it here. Your future in the most unequal society in the world looks extremely bright. Wherever you end up, make sure you're making a positive contribution to our communities, to our country, and to our continent. The future of Africa lies in your hands. Go forth and create a better future. Go forth and make us proud. Go forth and build Wakanda. I wish you success. Congratulations.